Hello, I'm Eduardo Vianna, and I'm the CEO of NovaGo Therapeutics. We all have a personal story to tell regarding a family member, a loved one, a friend, or colleague that has been impacted by a non-communicable disease. And this has led to chronic disability, such as in stroke or even in diabetes. For instance, stroke is the leading cause of adult disability. It impacts around 33 million patients worldwide, with 1.7 million new cases per year in the US and Europe alone. Stroke is a disease with one of the largest impact on healthcare resources. For instance, in the EU, it is estimated that the total direct and indirect costs of stroke is estimated to be around 40 billion euros per year. There has been substantial improvement in the care of stroke in the last 5 years, and this has led to an increase of survival rates. However, approximately half of these patients will remain with a lifelong disability, and this impacts not only them, but their families and caregivers. Many stroke survivors lose their independent life and end up in nursing homes, often at enormous costs. If one discusses with patients and patient association, there's an expression widely used. I have to adapt to the new me or the new normal, and I cannot do all the things I used to do. Stroke is now a disease of chronically disabled survivors, and there is no regenerative therapy available for them. We know that the regenerative and plastic capacity of the adult brain following injury is drastically restricted. Professor Martin Schwab from the University of Zurich and founder of NovaGo discovered and described NoGo-A as one of the most potent neurite growth inhibitory molecules in the brain. He has also shown that monoclonal antibodies which block the action of NoGo-A mediate significant improvement in functional recovery in several preclinical stroke models and other CNS injuries. This monoclonal antibody treatment is not chronic. It occurs just over a short period of time, 2 weeks in the animals, estimated to be 1 month in the humans. And what is quite interesting is that these effects were not only seen when the therapy was given just after the lesion occurred, but also when the therapy started several days or weeks after stroke onset. What we've been observing in our lab lately is that the effect of anti-NoGo therapy, in particular our candidate NGO04, is based not only on nerve regrowth. We also have data that show that there is a revascularization of the damaged area, and this also facilitates nerve regrowth. Thus, we believe that NGO4 acts in stroke, leading to recovery of function via dual mechanism of action. In the panel below, you can observe that the animals that received NGO4 for 2 weeks after they had a stroke, induced a stroke, have a significant improve in a very complex task, which is walking, novel task, which is walking over the horizontal ladder. Now, besides the strong preclinical evidence that NGO4 leads to nerve fiber growth and recovery of function in the brain after stroke, we also have evidence now that anti-NoGo therapy leads to blood vessel repair in the eye and prevents retinal degeneration. This is something typical of diabetic retinopathy. In fact, diabetic retinopathy is the leading cause of visual disability in working age adults. Approximately 1 in 3 people living with diabetes have some degree of diabetic retinopathy. and 1 in 10 will develop a vision-threatening form of the disease. Approximately 40% of these patients will not respond to intravitreal injections of anti-VEGF, which is the current standard of care. Epidemiological forecasts estimate that there will be 50% increase in the prevalence of retinopathy by 2040. Our data shows that once you inject NGO4 in a retinopathy model, it leads to revascularization of the retina. Most importantly, there's no vascular sprouting is observed. And this you can appreciate here in this quadrant here, where these animals did not receive anti-NovaGo therapy, and you can see they have abnormal, and you can see abnormal vascularization also here, this vascular. Whereas those animals that received anti-NovaGo therapy, they had a recovery of function, not only structure where you see the revascularization, but you can also appreciate that they also had an improvement in the response to visual stimuli as measured by retinography. When looking at both stroke and diabetic retinopathy pipeline, most drugs are focused on reperfusion of blood, decrease of edema, or have a cytoprotectant effect. NGO4 unique value proposition is to be the first in-class regenerative therapy for stroke and for diabetic retinopathy. Our human monoclonal anti-NovaGo antibody represents a novel approach that promotes the brain and retina regenerative healing process. And this has been shown in vivo and in vitro models. We are now performing tox studies, and we are set to start the clinical trials in stroke in 2021, followed shortly by diabetic retinopathy clinical studies. We plan to start our studies in the target population, meaning in the stroke population and also in the diabetic retinopathy population, and not in healthy population. This means that we will be able to not only have safety and tolerability by mid-2022, but we could potentially start assessing efficacy of NGO4 by this time as well. NovaGo Therapeutics is a spin-off from the University of Zurich, and our management has extensive biotech experience. With strong science and a strong team, we believe that NovaGo is in a unique position to deliver a novel regenerative therapy for both stroke and diabetic retinopathy. NovaGo has closed a Series A financing round early 2019. We have now started the Series B financing round to support the clinical development of NGO4 in both indications until end of phase 2 proof of concept clinical study. We are foreseeing the need of approximately 46 million Swiss francs to be able to deliver this value proposition. I'm happy to follow up with anyone interested in NovaGo and our financing round. Thank you very much.